Hey everybody, it's Tao at the Forge, and tomorrow is FNM at Home Historic, so make sure you play that if you can. Now, you don't necessarily have to have an historic deck to play this. You can just play with whatever cards you have, and you could technically play a standard deck in it as well. It's just that some of the historic cards are really powerful, so you might have a harder time with it. But, you don't have to have like all this, like the historic anthology cards or whatever either. You can just play with whatever cards you have from, from however you've played in the past. I wouldn't go out of my way necessarily just to buy packs. So like, don't go to the store and start like buying old packs and stuff like that. If you have them, great. If you do, but don't waste your your hard-earned gold trying to get packs. It's just a bad idea, right? Trying to dig like trying to open packs to get a card you need is like looking for a needle in a haystack. So definitely do not do that. But anyways, before I go on, one thing is you should take a screenshot of your once you've entered. So when you entered, it'll say like that you're entered, and then send that screenshot to your local game store. That local game store will send you back a code that you can redeem for like a sleeve or gems or something. Anyway, so give it a shot. Anyways, I'm going to go over today a few of the decks that I plan on trying at FNM, and I mentioned one earlier today in the daily review, but yeah, here we go. So I'm going to try these five just because they're different, and I like to try different colors, and just see how they work. Now, so what we have is let's see. First one is Historic Mono Black. Basically, it's just mono black good stuff, and not unfortunately, but the thing is, in mono black you actually have a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of removal and a lot of like card draw and stuff like that. So mono black is actually just very strong. Right, so we start off with 4 of Knight of the Ebon Legion, 4 Agonizing Remorse. This is just basically like a beatdown, and it's later on a good threat. Agonizing Remorse just is great removal. So basically you reveal your hand, you choose a non-land card from it, exile the card, you lose 1 life. Okay, and it's exile, it doesn't go to the graveyard. Okay, we got Heartless Act, it's just plain creature destruction. Tamer is more graveyard hate. Yarok's Fenlurker is hand disruption as well, and later on could become, a little bit better, but, you're probably not going to be spending your 3 mana to pump this guy. Ayara is amazing, right? It doesn't seem like it, a 3 mana 2/3, but basically, once that you get that Yarok's Fenlurker down, then you're having that 1/1 round's not that really great, but it allows you to ping your opponent for 1. You gain 1 life, your opponent discards a card, and then you can sacrifice the Yarok's Fenlurker and you can draw a card. Right, so rather than like, you can also use it to chump block an opponent, so you can use it as a blocker, and then once it's declared as a blocker, then sacrifice it. So Ayara is actually pretty good. Midnight Reaper, it's just very strong. Just whenever a creature dies, you get to draw a card. Murderous Rider, it's removal and also a lifelinker. Phyrexian Arena, now this is a great card. Basically, every time at the beginning of your turn, you get to draw a card and you lose 1 life, but paying 1 life to draw a card is actually not really that much of a sacrifice. It's actually a pretty good play. So there's a 3 of Phyrexian Arena, 3 Phyrexian Obliterators. Basically, if you get this out, your opponent has to find some sort of spell-based removal for him. Otherwise, he's just going to start pounding face. You can't block with him. Otherwise, you have to start sacrificing permanents. All right, Rankle. Rankle is just an early game 4 mana 3/3 with flying and haste, and then basically you can make your opponent discard cards. So for you often don't care if you discard cards. Also lose 1 life and draw a card. That could really help. Each player sacrifices a creature. That could be really good too, especially again if you've got something like a Yarok's Fenlurker just sitting around or whatever. But when you sacrifice that Yarok's Fenlurker, maybe you've got like a Midnight Reaper, and then you draw cards off of it again. Finally, because we got so many black symbols, we got Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which could be just come out of nowhere and pretty much either put you back in the game or just finish your opponent. After that, we've just got, I don't know why, there are different kinds of swamps like this. Let's see, just go like that. So we've got 21 swamps and 3 Castle Lochthwains. That's pretty much it. All right, so okay, let's see, that was Historic Mono Black. Blue Tempo. These ones are pretty much like pretty common decks that you can find almost anywhere. So we've got Siren Storm Tamer, allows you to counter. So it's a 1/1 flyer that can give you a little bit of a beater, but then later on you can sacrifice it and counter a target spell that targets you or a creature, so it can protect your creatures later on. Spectral Sailor, it's a flash creature, so you can get it in and on your opponent's end step and then swing with it the next turn. Also draws you cards. Spell Pierce, so just counter target non-creature spell. Brine-Born Cutthroat. Again, basically what we're trying to do is cast everything on our opponent's turn. So having a Brine-Born Cutthroat is pretty good because when you cast anything on your opponent's turn, he gets a +1/+1 counter. Okay, Merfolk Trickster basically supports that and also taps target creature. Your Omen of the Sea, for some more digging. Heartless Act to destroy stuff. Cunning Nightbonder makes your stuff so you can't be countered. Where is it here? And a little bit cheaper. Sea Dasher Octopus also helps you draw cards off of it. Lookout's Dispersal. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a pirate. I don't think you're probably going to control a pirate, but nonetheless, you also counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Right, so do we have any pirate? Oh yeah, we do. Siren Stormtaper is a pirate, and also Spectral Sailor. So, and actually Brine-Born Cutthroat. So yeah, I was totally wrong. Okay, so Lookout's Dispersal is pretty good. Could be a 2-mana counter spell. That's actually really good. Slither Wisp basically is you draw a card every time you cast a creature with Flash. Now you don't have to cast it on your opponent's turn. Right, this could just be any time you cast it. So if your opponent's holding up like something, or you're tapped out, you got to do something else, then you can just cast it on your turn and still draw a life. Right. After that, it's just an assortment of islands and swamps. Again, I don't know why it's like this. This is a nice island, but I think I will just go 2 full islands. Oh, I see. It's because it wants me to use the Godzilla lands that I have. Alright, but nonetheless, I would like to have some consistency with the way my lands look. And then some Drowned Catacombs and Watery Graves. Now, if you are ever spending wild cards, getting good lands is never really something bad. Right, so Drowned Catacombs is always a great card. Right, same thing with Watery Grave. Now, Watery Grave is in rotation right now, so it's in standard, but Drowned Catacombs is not, but it will come back. Right, basically, these types of cards always come back. And they're always powerful, so like having a play set of them is always really good. And then later on, if you're playing Brawl or Commander or whatever, like these cards are always great to have. So like whenever you can, especially in paper, whenever like a new set comes out, like Drowned Catacombs, like one time Drowned Catacombs was on for like $2 or something like that. So that's when you buy like 10 of them, right? Like because they're going to be valuable later, and when they come back into standard, then you can just sell them back and make your money back. And in the meantime, they're really, really handy. So always try and look for good lands, right? If you actually look at most decks, the problem is the cost of the deck is actually all in it's all in the lands usually. So anyways, there we go. Historic Blue Tempo. Historic Goblins is just straight up goblins. So we got Fanatical Firebrand, Skirk Prospector. Basically what you want to do is just come out super hard against your opponent and just start like swinging, with a whole crap ton of small goblins. Okay, there are some good things that you can do. Like this one's a really good one. So when Goblin Rune Blaster enters the battlefield, is kick, destroy target non-basic land. Now, for 4 mana, like normally it costs 4 mana to destroy a land anyways, so you're destroying a land and you're getting a 2/1 body out of it with haste. That's pretty good. And also destroying your opponent's lands is always a good idea if you can. So I mean, yeah, I like that. Goblin Matron, basically you can put it out and it replaces herself. This Gem Palm Incinerator is actually really good. Deals X damage to target creature, where X is the number of goblins on the battlefield. Now that's to a creature, not to face, but still, that's really sweet. This one, you create a 1/1 red goblin. So basically for 2 mana, you get 2 1/1s. Right? Then you get the bigger ones, the Krenko Tin Street Kingpin. If your opponent doesn't deal with this, basically whenever he attacks, you get a +1/+1 counter on him. Then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to his power. Now, if you get him down and you also have like Icons of Ancestry, like this guy can get out of control really, really fast. And same thing with Legion Warboss. All right, so Goblin Ringleader. Okay, basically refills your hand. Trash Master can destroy a target artifact, but the main thing is that you want him in there because other goblins get +1/+1. Siege Gang Commander enters the battlefield, and your opponent, you get to create 3 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, and then you can sacrifice the goblin, and he deals 2 damage to any target, and that could basically finish things off for you. Finally, we have Ember Cleave, which can just kind of pump up a creature and give him double strike. You're going to probably have a ton of goblins, and because you have flash, you can get this out super cheap and then just kind of flash it in, and often that can just be the finisher. Now, if you don't have Ember Cleaves, then you can also use, like, I think it's Lightning Blast. Lightning Blast, I believe. It's some lightning spell anyways. I don't know why I won't search for it, but okay. Lighting. Yes, lightning. There we go. Lightning Strike. Yeah, so it's not as great as Lightning Bolt, but a 2 mana, do 3 damage to any target is always really good, and it's only uncommon, so that's always a decent one, and so that's actually one that you could put in instead of Ember Cleave if you don't have Ember Cleave. Alright, so anyways, let's move on. Then we've got Historic White Prison. Now, these first 3 that I showed you guys, the Mono Black Goblins and Blue Temple, these are kind of tried and true historic decks, and you're probably going to see more play with them. The next 2 I'm going to show you are a little more jank, so you're probably not going to see as many good plays out of it, but we'll see. Okay, so this White Prison, I love playing prison decks and jank decks, so that's just me. Okay, so what we have here, and this was originally made by Covert Go Blue. I've modified it a little bit. Basically, it's just trying to stop your opponent from doing anything, right? So here's the thing. We got Fountains of Renewal, basically gains you a life at the beginning of every turn, right? On top of that, we got Grafdigger's Cage and 4 Dawn of Hope. Okay, Grafdigger's Cage, because right now there's a ton of cards, like especially like the stupid Cauldron Cat and stuff like that, that if you have a Grafdigger's Cage, then nothing can escape from your graveyard. Luris can't bring things back. That stupid Cauldron Cat combo doesn't work, and so it shuts a lot of stuff down. So it's definitely worth it to put 1 or 2 in your deck. Dawn of Hope, every time you gain a life, you can pay 2 and you can draw a card. Now, if you have Fountains of Renewal, that means at the beginning of your turn you gain a life and you can pay 2 mana and draw a card, which is just a ton of extra cards that you could get. Okay, we're going to skip Remorseful Cleric right now. Revitalize. Basically, Revitalize is just to keep you in the game, gain 3 life, draw a card. So we just want to dig. Seal Away is a flash. I like it because it's flash, but enters target creatures, exile target tapped creature an opponent controls until Seal Away leaves the battlefield. So if your opponent's playing something with Vigilance, then I guess you're in trouble. But anyways, we got Rasca Relic. Okay, basically just some more ramp. But later on in the game, you can sacrifice it. You gain 3 cards, 3 life, and you draw a card. And you will probably have the City's Blessing. Alright, so Ixalan's Binding basically is a way of getting rid of an opponent. Now, I had struggled with this one. I wasn't sure if we should play Ixalan's Binding or if I should substitute it with one of the other 3 mana ones. Like where you can just basically what is it, like an Oblivion Ring type thing? Where are they here? Let's take a look. Where are they here? So where you can just actually play something like there's cheaper stuff that does this. Like even Dreadful Apathy is pretty good, where you can actually just put it on person. Pacifism or Banishing Light. There you go. So you get enter the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent. Right, so that's something you could potentially use, and it's cheaper, right, as far as mana goes. Also, Ixalan's Binding, yeah, it's just the only thing that it allows you to do is you can shut down your opponents because they can't cast something with the same name. So that can actually be kind of backbreaking sometimes for players. They can't cast that same card. But if it's not working for you, or if you don't have this card, then Banishing Light might actually be a good substitute. Okay, after that we have 4 Settle the Wreckage. Now, basically what it is you exile all attacking creatures the player controls, and they get to replace those creatures with basic lands. A funny story with this is I was playing against a Sliver player in Commander, and I was playing Feldegriff, and they had actually bragged about how they had spent so much money on their land and did not have any basics, and then they attacked with like they finally got that stupid sliver that gives everyone indestructible, and they swung in with the whole crew, and I actually settled the wreckage on them. It was awesome. Basically exile all their creatures, and they don't have any basic lands to put in, so they get nothing for it. But in this deck, we actually do want our opponent to get lands, right? It sounds weird, but we do want our opponent to get lands, so we're going to put that down, right? And then what we have is some Shatter the Skies, basically just destroy everything. And then we've got some Immortal Suns. That's just shut down Planeswalkers and stuff like this. A better one that we might like. Okay, so at the beginning of your draw step, you draw an additional card, but Sorcerer's Spyglass might be a better one to put in there. So look at opponent's hand and choose any card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen card name can't be activated. So you won't get the card draw off of this, but it's way cheaper. Right, so Sorcerer's Spyglass might be a better include for this, and I don't know, I'm not sure which one, but this is just player can't activate Planeswalker's abilities. This could be technically anything, so maybe giving up the 2 Immortal Suns for a Sorcerer's Spyglass is better. Alright, then after that, we just have some planes, Field of Ruin just to destroy lands. Again, we want to try and get rid of our opponent's like some specialty lands like that can really help them, but also essentially we are a land destruction deck. All right, Zalfiran Void is just going to help us scry for the things that we need to keep us in the game. Now what we want to do is we want to get up to 8 mana. Now 8 mana is a lot, right? But what we then want to do is play a Fall of Thran, right? And because we have so much dig and so much card draw, we can actually stay alive for quite a long time. And then what you want to do is you want to have Fall of Thran and Remorseful Cleric in your hand. And this will happen actually way more than you think. This happens like a lot. All right. Then what you do is you actually Fall of Thran, right? Okay. First of all, you have 8 mana. You tap all your mana to float it. Okay, because otherwise you destroy all your lands and you won't have mana. So you tap all the mana, you float the mana, then you play Fall of Thran, destroy all the lands you can, all the lands on both sides of the table. Make sure you pay, if you can, go to full control mode and pay all of the colorless mana first, right? Then what you do is you use your remaining mana to play Remorseful Cleric. So you put Remorseful Cleric out, and then you sacrifice him, and you exile all the cards from the player's graveyard, right? So basically, you just Armageddon them. You just did a one-sided land wipe on your opponent. Right? So then what you got is basically next turn, each player returns 2 land cards from their graveyard to the battlefield, but there are none in your opponent's graveyards. So then over the next couple turns, right, you're going to end up with like 4, 5, 6 lands, and your opponent will end up with nothing. Especially if you use Settle the Wreckage to get rid of all their creatures, because you just blew up all their basic lands. So this is actually a pretty fun one. There are other things we could put in here. Again, I'm not so sure about Ixalan's Binding. Ixalan's Binding might, I don't know, there's other things that could go better in here, but we'll have to play test it. I really like it. It's a pretty fun deck, and it's especially tasty when you blow up all your opponent's lands and then exile their graveyard, and then they realize that you're going to get your lands back, but they don't. Right? So, nice style. All right, great. Okay, anyways. That's the prison deck. And then the other one is this Historic Obliterator. So Historic Obliterator, basically what we're doing is we're playing, it's kind of built in the shell of a mono black good stuff thing. I don't think we need so many Pachuca Bogs. Okay, but basically we have Cauldron Familiar, Witch's Oven, which is going to constantly like cycle, trying to get our opponent to deal with that. That's not our real threat, but it'll keep us in the game. We couple that with Midnight Reaper, so every time you have your Phyrexian Obliterator, you have your Cauldron Familiar die, then basically Midnight Reaper is going to deal 1 damage to you, but you draw a card and then you bring it back, and the Cauldron Familiar gives you back 1 life. So essentially you get a free card draw for nothing every time you do it. What we're really doing is trying to use that sort of thing to dig and stay alive for the Phyrexian Obliterator. And then once we can resolve a Phyrexian Obliterator, then what we're going to do is we're going to basically force it to fight our opponent's creatures using Prey Upon, Pounce, and Warbrier's Blessing. Right, so we're going to force our opponent to fight against our Obliterator, and then basically like choose like their biggest creature, and then they have to sacrifice that many permanents. Right, that can be just super backbreaking. As far as like other things go, a Phyrexian Arena wouldn't go amiss if you have it. So like just to get extra card draw. I would say we don't necessarily need to have all of these fighting spells, so maybe take away a Pounce, take away a Blessing, maybe a Duress, and put in 3 arenas, right? And that'll help us to stay in the game by giving us more card draw, right? And then, like I said, this Cauldron Familiar coupled with Witch's Oven can really help us to stay in the match, right? Anyways, but that is pretty much it. I think it's pretty sweet. You know, I'm excited to see how these decks go, and maybe if I have time, I might try and stream them tomorrow. So anyways, I look forward to seeing you guys, and let me know in the comments how you guys did in FNM Historic. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.